Today on Modern Sales Wisdom Podcast, we're going to be speaking about closing plans, action plans, or go live plans with none other than Johannes Stich.
Actually treat it as a product. We need to convince him that it makes sense to use the mutual action plan to buy. It's actually selling it and aligning the customer to it. Mutual action plan, we work with mutual action plans. It looks like this.
And before we get going and into the conversation with Johannes, I want to say thank you for listening in. If you're doing this on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever it is, you taking the time really means a lot to me. So thank you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then you are the special ones. Thank you as well. And now, as you still have the device in your hand, probably, please smash that subscribe button and leave me a like. It makes a huge difference, and the more engagement we have, the better the show is going to get. And this is what I do it for. I do it out of passion for the sales community. So thank you for being part of it. Now we have Johannes Stich on the show, and Johannes is going to be the right person to talk about when it comes to building mutual engagement plans or go live plans. Johannes is the go-to-market lead at Value Case, and he has an excessive history as well in coaching and building teams and structuring them and consulting in that area, also working at Winning with Design. He has the knowledge, and we're going to share it. So thank you. And at the end, there'll be a few nuggets which you could take with you. Thank you for being part of this. Enjoy. Johannes, great to have you on the show today. I'm really excited about this, especially we're going to talk about something which all sales managers love to talk about. That's joint action plans, joint mutual agreement plans with the customer to get across. So I'm really excited to get your insights onto this. But let's just to kick it off, maybe at the beginning, how would you define a mutual action plan, a mutual closing plan? What is the terminology? What are we going to be speaking about?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Henry. Basically, we already started at the definition step, right? So everybody calls it a little different. So we always call it mutual action plans or action plans, right? You just call it mutual agreement plans. I mean, I think we all mean the same, but by what it actually is, and that's actually that's a tricky point because I think that it comes, or at least I think that it comes from HubSpot, that they use it for onboarding, an action plan first, and there's no like real definition for it. So there's a lot of definitions out there, and for me, it's basically a shared dynamic, and the importance is dynamic document between you and your prospects, right? So it's basically a plan. You could also call it a project plan, how to close or how to sell to a client, and from a client's perspective, how they can go live with your solution. Like what are the steps? What is the project plan from now to go live for your client?
I think you're saying one important thing, which a lot of people in sales probably see a little bit different, because for us in sales, we like to see the close as the finish. But of course, that's not the finish, because that's the beginning of your partnership working together. How would you say maybe these mutual action plans, closing plans, are maybe a little bit different in the SaaS industry as they are in other industries?
To be honest, I cannot quite. Everything I'm saying is just from when I compare it to other industries. Then it's just from what I think, because I've never sold to never sold in other industries. Right, I've always been SaaS seller. Since I think it's a quite new concept, and it's a concept that has quite come to mainstream adoption now. I think that in SaaS, the specifics of emotion action plan are important, because SaaS software, selling technology is always something that is kind of new. So buyers don't know how to buy it, right? So how do I go live with I don't know, with a software like Zoom, a software like a software that is not like a one-click login for an end user, right? How do I go live? What do I need to do? And since there's a lot of technology in software out there that is new, that solves a new problem, that solves an innovative new concept, the buyer doesn't know. The buyer is new to this innovative product, and he has to learn. And you have to, as a seller, you have to educate him on how he can actually do it. It's not just done by swiping a credit card, right? So I think the main difference is that SaaS, and SaaS meaning selling technology, needs not only needs to educate buyers on the product, what it does, but also how to go live with it, how to use it, how to buy it, right? So I think that's a main difference to in the traditional or non SaaS markets. Buyers tend to have experience in buying, I don't know, buying cars, buying hardware, buying machines, right? I think that's a big difference from the start.
And what would you say are critical elements that you have to have within that process? Or is there a defined process? Because every company I've worked in, and every time we have external people joining our teams, they come up with sometimes great, sometimes superior, sometimes inferior processes, but they're all very different. Is there a framework where you would say that really makes sense out of your experience?
For a mutual action plan, I
Yes.
mean now, I think there's, and that's an interesting question to be honest. Um, I think there is no perfect system for a mutual action plan. I think it's very dynamic, it's very fluid, depending on what you're selling and what to whom you're selling it to, right? Um, and it is like the core nature of a mutual action plan or like a project plans itself. They are quite individual on um, like when what to start with, what to do to go live with a solution. I only see it like with core elements to it that should be in every mutual action plan. I've been training or doing mutual action workshops when I have done them. It's basically, and how I remember it, they are all individualized. So everything was sometimes the main part was a little different. Sometimes the end part was a little different. Sometimes the introduction of the mutual action plan to the champion was a little different, or was at a different point in time. I think they're quite. I think it's. I think there's no best system that fits all. I think it's very depending on your product and the ICP, the industry you're selling it to.
And let's start at the beginning, because when do you initiate? Because I think that's probably the first step, which you start when it comes. I mean, we have that in our processes when we look around, and I've tried to introduce that in our teams, where we say, if we come to this stage, we're going to start, let's say, a POC or something in that stage, and then say, now it's time we talk about mutual agreements going forward. Is there a time, and how should those be implemented, and who should implement them from persona style?
Yeah. So when is a very good question because when and how to introduce it is. I made the experience that it's a lot is depending on that point in time and how you do it. Um, from my experience, it made the most sense, or it like typically introduced very early in the process. So if you say you are at discovery stage, you do a first touch, first meeting with a customer, and you qualify whatever qualification method you using, if it's a medic band or if it's spice for winning by design. Then and you say, and in that qualification method, you think the prospect is qualified, right? So you move them forward to custom demo, whatever is the second meeting, right? Or whatever you're doing with qualified leads that you have spoken to. Um, Between those, so first touch, first call, and second call, there should be like this second in parallel stream of the mutual action planning. And I always train, we always try to implement this as a second meeting with the champion. So in plain words, it's a meeting after the discovery that you schedule with your champion. So the one that needs to drive the purchasing process from the buyer side. And this is a meeting just around the mutual action plan. It's not so much about product. It's not so much about the result. It's not so much about pricing. It's just basically really laying out, uh, let it be an Excel sheet with a project plan, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from today to go live with due dates, with work packages, with questions around who needs to be involved in this, And actually, it's a project meeting, right? It's a project plan meeting with your champion.
Just a quick reminder in the middle of the show. If you haven't done so, then please smash that subscribe button and leave me a like. It makes a big difference because the more engagement we have, the better the show is going to get. And I do it for you. So thank you for listening and being part of it. And maybe you know somebody who this conversation might be interesting. So feel free to share it. Now enjoy. So you're suggesting you have your initial calls with a prospect. You kind of need to get them ready to feel what your product can offer. And before you start evaluating and demoing what you have, you try to get the commitment from your prospect to say, well, if I demo you this, and if I do get my people involved, which is obviously an invest from the company, then let's see. Do you put in like step outs? Like if we don't deliver to what this is, then we don't have a deal from our side, or do you always have the go live in plan?
So you mean, um, do I do this before I demo a client, or can you rephrase the question maybe?
So the question which I'm asking is, if you're trying to, at what stage do you position your mutual action plan or your mutual closing plan or go live plan? Let's say you have a prospect and you get them ready. You call them a champion. Well, the champion's maybe hard is definition again, but let's say you have somebody who's eager to understand what you do. Their willingness is there to involve other people into the process in order to build something or to look at something. And obviously, if you start getting people from your company involved to demo, to give a little bit more than just half an hour of their time, but actually prepare a meeting, that's an invest from the company. You can't do that at scale. You have to do that very clearly and you have to do that wisely who you do that with. Um, so you're suggesting at that time, you say, well, I'm going to come, we're going to go do the demo. This is what it's going to look like. If we do this, then what will be the next steps in order to go further? And you bring out the piece of paper, the Excel piece, where you say, this is what we're suggesting the next steps could be because you don't know how to buy our product or how to go live. And this is what we say we need to check up on. And then you also but if we don't have then there is no go live, right? So what I'm asking you is the commitment from the customer has to be quite high in order to say, I'm going to go and you know, commit to delivering all of these things when first maybe he's not so committed but he's still interested and maybe there will be. So the question is, we as in sales, we like to have happy ears. Um, how much can we trust our happy ears?
I think it's a good point you're asking, and it's also, I think the main cliff is depends on how your sales process is structured, like how much you can demo without putting a lot of resources in, right? Maybe you're already demoing in the first call, right? So I have a lot of I've had a lot of clients as a consultant, which had was always this question: okay, should we demo in the first call or not? If we don't demo in the first call, then the clients aren't happy. If we demo, it takes a lot of time. So I think the resource part is very important. So before you deploy resources, and by resources I mean maybe a sales engineer, maybe someone who sets up a custom demo, so an extended custom demo, or maybe even something is prepared specifically for the client because you know that they have systems ABC. This is something that happens typically after you qualify the opportunity, right? So I guess the answer is or how we do it and how I did it with the companies I was engaging with is we always would show if we said, okay, this client in the call, you already know in the discovery call that the client is qualified or not. Then you would draw up the mutual action plan on the screen. You would say, this is how we work. This is how our sales process works. This is our mutual action plan. We work with mutual action plans. It looks like this. Mr. Client, it's basically a project plan with we have to align on for you to make sure that we can go live in time. And then you go in the high level run through of the main parts. And then you introduce to them, if we move forward, then we would need a separate meeting with you to go through the details, because we have to discuss with the technical, with the technical contact that we need to talk with for APIs or something. Who is your legal contact? We need to send the legal documents to. Who is this? Who is this? And then you align on and make the customer understand that there's much more to it than just swiping a credit card or signing a document or a purchasing of that. If that makes sense.
How large would you recommend these documents are? I mean, if I look internally for the companies I've worked in, there can be excessive projects, which, but then you don't want to overwhelm somebody so early in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So at first, just show a template, right? Just show I don't know, this is the 6-7 step plan of going live, right? So, and everything is templatized, so you won't have like specifics in, because you don't know them yet. But if I say, for instance, talk to or make, like we're selling to sales, right? So Salesforce integration, the sales of Salesforce integrations always has to. We always have to, or our clients always have to check this with sales ops or sales enablement internally, how they test it, how they get a sandbox in Salesforce to integrate with. This is, for instance, a specific item I wouldn't show in the mutual action plan at the first meeting, right? The first meeting would just say, except for the task, introduce me to your sales ops manager. It would say, check for integrations. So like a high level topic of what I'm going to do. I'm not, and maybe this will have 3, 4, 5 tasks coming with it. But it's just like a milestone. At first, you only show milestones first before you really go into detail, go into tasks, assign work packages, and that kind of stuff. So it's not long. At the first stage, it's not long, but it can get quite long if you go through a process, because of course, different steps maybe emerge along the process, which you couldn't anticipate in the first place.
Mm. And if you're starting out and you've never done these action plans, mutual agreement plans, then where would you start for the people listening?
I would start with, so the first exercise is always, like actually treat it as a product, treat it as, why should I use, or why should a customer buy a mutual action plan from me, right? So why should he agree to work with a mutual action plan for the purchase order? So what pain is it solving? What is the result, right?
Mm.
And then the practical exercise is, map back the last, I don't know, 10 deals that went quite well, or 5 deals, in your opinion, however large you are. If you're a startup, of course, you might not have so many deals in the enterprise motion that you can count or really draw back 5 or 10 of those. But if you have like a bunch of deals, I would reverse engineer them. What's the happy path? Not the happy year. What's the happy path for us sellers, right? What's the happy path for, as for timeline, as for steps we need to take, as for what's the best case scenario, what's our best case scenario prospect, and how would he go through the sales process from demo stage to go live, not the close, but the go live. And this is basically the exercise that we always do when we do mutual action plan workshops. And then as a second step, and this is actually now we're coming into how do we apply it. So you have reverse engineered the perfect sales process for a specific customer segment, and you have written it down in Gantt chart, an Excel sheet, just written it down in some form with timelines, with time deltas in it, and the different streams you need to talk to. And then you have to sell it, right? So you have to sell the mutual action plan to the customer, because the customer say, oh wow, what is this? No, I don't. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, we need to do this, but I'm not sure if I should do it. This is real work, right? So you need to convince him that it makes sense to use the mutual action plan to buy. And at that stage, um, I have the I always coin the sentence. Typically, when we work with customers like you, we see problems emerging in that point of the sales process, that point of the sales process, that point of the sales process, because we haven't done this, this, this. We are trying to solve these problems with anticipating them and with addressing them early. So that's why I define this mutual action plan. And that's why you as a buyer will have a better buying journey when using and aligning on this.
That makes total
So
sense.
yeah,
Now, what do you think are like typical pitfalls where the people step into?
yeah. Um, yeah, let me quickly gather. So the pitfall, um, I think it's not the plan itself. It's not the mapping out the steps from demo to go live. Um, it's not like knowing whom you need to talk to. It's actually um, selling it and aligning the customer to it, and it's attaching some kind of go live date to it. Because the problem with every framework and the problem with a lot of frameworks is they always work perfectly on paper and perfectly in theory. But if you don't have a go live date, you can't. If you don't have a date for until the customer wants to go live, then you can't quite map your mutual action plan to it, right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of customers don't have a go live date in mind. So they will not tell you, "Hey, I need this by the 1st of January." They will not tell you, "Hey, I need this next quarter, otherwise something bad happens." Also, maybe 1 in 20 deals works like this. So the difficulty is for a salesperson, for an account executive to uh, kind of identify this go live date. And what I mean is, you have to map a negative impact to this to the client situation when he doesn't move with you, when he doesn't go with your solution, when he keeps doing what he's doing, and when he keeps experiencing the pain that he's experiencing now. So, and
Do you have an
different
example for
pitfalls.
this? The negative pain?
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're selling, let's say you're selling a CRM, you're selling a CRM, and you don't have a CRM yet. So, a customer doesn't have a CRM yet. He has an Excel sheet where he tracks all the opportunities, and he's selling well. He's growing. He tells you in the discovery, I'm gonna onboard 3 new sellers next month. And then I think I'm going to grow to 5 more by the end of the quarter, Q4 this year. Then the negative impact is, or the negative experiences that you will feel, because you as an expert know uh, 12 months from now, when he has 10 sellers, or let's 5 + 3, 8, he's also a seller, so 7, so 9 maybe, or you have said 9 salespeople, um, an Excel sheet has major pitfalls to track your customers with, right?
Mm.
So you need to kind of educate him on a future problem that he's going to run into if he won't change, um, yeah, his process and align his process to future changes. And the future change in that scenario is he's not going to have one salesperson. 9 months from now, he's going to have 9 salespeople. And 9 salespeople working from a CRM sheet has many documentation problems, many false data entry problems, which he will have a negative, a negative impact from in 9 months.
Super interesting. And I think the big takeaways for me is really working backwards and trying to go to that pain offering. If you don't do this, then this is the consequence. And I'm gonna get my guys to start selling the mutual action plan a little bit more. what do
Nice.
you, what do you think we're missing right now in this conversation?
Um, Let me go through my notes because I've done some notes to this. Um, yeah, I think so. So um, the main things we already talked about is the critical events, the go live date. How do I orchestrate? And at Winning by Design, we used to call that orchestrating a critical event, right? So you have to orchestrate a negative impact that a customer might not feel or might not know yet that he's going to run into some kind of bad thing in the future. Because in reality, nobody will tell you, I need a CRM by the 1st of January. They will tell you, hey, I might need a CRM, right? That's what prospects tell you. That's why I'm demoing with you, because I think I might need it. Um, I think, yeah, what we might have missed, and this is also an important experience that I made, is that you should show wherever you are documenting or collaborating the mutual action plan on, if it's an Excel sheet, if it's a software, if it's a PowerPoint, or if it's just text file, you should make it um, a main document of every meeting, at least with a champion or with people of your core buyer group. You should always draw it back or put it up the screen share at the end of the meeting, get into it, collaborate on it, maybe make the buyer edit cells, edit parts of it, comment on it. So make it a collaborative document and make it a central document of the whole buying journey. That it's always central, that they always, everything kind of, uh, what do they say, uh, uh, like circles or gravitates around the mutual action plan. And showing it in the screen share in every meeting at the end, just a few minutes, and then editing the stuff that you checked and editing the things that have changed does a big part of it.
I love that. And before I ask you the last question, I want to say thank you for joining because I'm learning something here. And I'm getting some inspiration because in my head, I already know exactly where I'm going to implement exactly what you said because we have 5 streams which we need to align on, and we're having a bit of an issue with that because there's many different stakeholders in this project. Um, and I'm going to look forward to bring this conversation to life tomorrow when I go back to work. So thank you so much for that, Johannes. It's been really inspirational, and I'm getting a lot out of this. So thank you. Maybe to finish off, something on the more personal side and but work related. Uh, what is one thing you wish you would have known about sales that you know now that you did not know when you started out, which would have maybe made your life a little bit easier?
That changes the answer, which maybe the last part, the last sentence, the last half sentence changes my whole answer.
Well,
Um,
you can give us two.
let me answer without the last part. The last, the thing that I didn't know when I started in, yeah, let's call it sales, because I didn't want to, like, beginning of my career, I didn't want to go into sales, right? So I thought, yeah, that you don't want to be this sleazy sales guy, right? So sales has a very bad reputation at least in Germany, right? I don't know about whole Europe, but, and then everybody would tell me, you should go into sales. You're such a good salesperson. Go to sales. You're so dumb. Why don't you join the sales force or join a sales team? I would say, yeah, no, I want to go in business development, right? So then my first job was business development manager. And what I didn't know before that, and it just clicked, I don't know, maybe quite late actually, when somebody gave me the books of Winning by Design, for instance. If you, so sales is not something that is, or is not anymore something that is very talent based. It's very, um, it's a very strong, I would say it's a craft, right? It's not an art anymore. It's art and craft, but it's a craft. If you think of a library, then a sales library is packed with different frameworks, books, and different things you can do. And it's actually also teachable. So that's what I find really interesting about it, that you can actually really step by step, process oriented, teach sales to new hires, to people. So this is the first question. the first part of the question. The second part that I didn't know before that made life easier now. Repetitions. So in sales, you need repetitions. You can't just and the whole podcast for me now is or what we're doing right now. The main part that I'm seeing that in consulting and training in my own teams every day and all the time, the best framework won't cut it. You have to do the reps, recalibrate, iterate, get coached, do it again, and find your sweet spot in the framework, or find attach the framework to practical knowledge or practical experience. And this is the only thing you can do with repetition. So it's quite comparable to sports, to the gym. You can't just gain muscle by knowing how to do a biceps curl, right? And doing it once, twice. You have to do it, I don't know, 20, 30 reps, 3 days a week, 6 to 10 weeks, and then you see muscle gain, right? So that's the thing that uh, maybe I kind of knew it, or maybe somebody told me, but I wouldn't listen to them, right? But there's no there's no shortcut. You have to do the reps. You have to do the reps, and again and again and again and again. That's the main thing that would have made life easier. So repetition and, of course, patience, and put in the time and effort, and good things will come if you do the reps.
I couldn't agree I couldn't agree more. It's definitely it's a good analogy with the gym because yeah, you can lift weights, but if you want to lift heavy, that's like knowing how to craft a proper deal. There's no cheating. You have to do the reps. Johannes, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're at the end now. It's been a real pleasure. And if people
Yes.
want to connect, I think LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out to you, right?
Yes, LinkedIn is good.
Awesome. I'll drop everything in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Henry.
Now we're at the end of the show, and I want to say thank you for listening to the end. It makes a huge difference. Getting the engagement and getting people to watch this makes me more than happy. And if you haven't done so, then smash that subscribe button, leave me that like, maybe share it with somebody who you think this conversation may be interesting for, because that's what I do it for us as a community of salespeople. And thank you again. I'm looking forward to meet you in the next episode. If you want to engage or get it connected with me or with Johannes, then LinkedIn or Instagram is probably the best place to find us. I'll leave the links down in the show notes. Thank you guys. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.